Good evening, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Meet the Candidates. I'm your host, Kesha Hoey, and in our studios today, we have another state representative candidate, Larry Hutchingson. He's actually running for the 49th district, along with with the incumbent, Lee Gonzalez. Mr. Hutchinson, thank you for
Yes, ma'am.
joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good, good. Well, what we want to do is just introduce you to the voters and the constituents. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you lived in the city, in the county, in the state of Michigan?
Well, I've lived in the county, the state, for all my life. I was born on an Army base, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, Reynolds Hospital. My father was serving 2 tours in Vietnam, and about a year or so after he got finished with his tour, he came back to Flint, Michigan, and he worked for the Postal Service for 30 years. He's retired now. He's moved out of the state. My mother was a clerk for Judge Fullerton, Miss Yvonne Hutchinson.
Okay. Now, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 35.
35. Okay, so you would say you're pretty young to be running for this office. Some people would say that. What do you think about that criticism that you're not old enough to be in an elected office?
I don't know. We have an 18-year-old who's the mayor of Oklahoma, where I'm from, Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Oh.
He's the mayor of one of the cities in Oklahoma, and the youngest governor we've ever had in the nation is from Michigan. Don't ask me his name, but I've taken the tour around the state house.
Okay. Well, what schools did you go to in Flint here?
I've been to Central, Garfield, and graduated from Mott Community College. I'm one class away from my bachelor's degree.
Okay.
So
Now, what was your degree in at Mott?
my degree was in psychology.
Okay. And what are you studying at U of M?
I studied anthropology, communications, political science.
Okay. Okay. Now, do you affiliate yourself with any religious formats here in the city? Is there any religious affiliations here that you have?
Well, when I feel spiritually drained, I go to Pastor Jennings' church, Grace Emmanuel. But my religious philosophy, I take the best out of all of them. You know, this is a free country, and I just try to take the best out of all of them and not criticize any of them, but take the best out of all of them and incorporate them in my life.
Okay, certainly. What prompted you to run for this office?
I don't know. I just don't. It's like God pushed me into this situation.
Really?
I just believe that.
Okay. So what have you done prior? We know you ran for mayor. You were right in on the ballot for mayor. What prior experience do you have that would say, I'm the candidate for this office?
Well, I'm trying to prove that now. With everything that I've done in my life, I've molded myself and allowed God to mold me into a person, into a candidate that I would like to see, that I would like to vote for. You know, we have Bush, who got in there. He wasn't elected, he was selected by the people. We want candidates like Barack Obama, who are for the people.
Okay. Now, would you say that there's any mentors, politically or otherwise, in the city that you look up to say, okay, this is the reason why I should run?
Wow, in the city of Flint?
Yeah.
It would be hard to find. It would be hard to find some candidates in the city of Flint to really say, wow, he's doing something or she's doing something. You know, we got Carolyn Sims up there. She's the first African-American, first woman council president. That's a good thing. But every time I go down to the council meeting, it's when I propose something, nothing is brought up. So I don't think that there's any real political figures that I can say that you inspire me.
So you say in Flint, is there any other abroad? Is there anybody that you look up to specifically?
Well, anthropology is basically another extension of history. And when I look at history, I love history. I love to read biographies where you hear about the startups, where people came from nothing and made it big. I read a lot of motivational books, and everything I read tells me that I can. But to point to someone specifically, the only person I can point to specifically is people like former President Bill Clinton. He came here in 99, 2000. I was a student at Mott when he came. Al Gore, who, a great debater and all of this and all of that. People like that.
Okay. Now, you're running against Lee Gonzalez, very well respected in his position. Do you think that he's been successful in his time as state rep?
I don't know. I really haven't heard much about Mr. Gonzalez. I don't know. Okay. What I have heard about him is it hasn't been good.
Okay, so what would you do differently if you're elected?
Well, I would certainly address the people's concerns. While I was running for mayor, I had a loved one who was missing, and I went all the way up to Lansing, left my material. Please contact me as soon as possible. No response. Now, if that's me, then just think about the average citizen.
Well, a lot of the people are not familiar with what a state representative's duties are. Can you explain that to our viewers?
Well, it's simple. Basically, what all political officials' duties are: to uphold their office honorably and to uphold the Constitution. Now, with regard to a congressman or a state representative, their issues are to vote yes or no, or to propose legislation.
Okay. Now, as far as the city of Flint goes, what legislation do you have that you're going to propose if you're elected? What are some of the issues and concerns that you have?
Well, I have proposed several issues before the city council. One relates to voter turnout. I think we should have a fine on non-voting residents. I think that we should have a situation in Flint where alcoholic beverages should not be sold before 6 o'clock. And there are a few other things I've proposed. I'm currently attempting to garner support for a free speech rally, which would basically give an opportunity to the citizens to voice their opinions, sell whatever they have, display their talents, like in Flint, Michigan right now. We have a young man who is at the caliber of a T.I. or a